Welcome to the Programming with Codea podcast. Learn to program on the iPad for the iPad. My name is Patrick Coxell, and today what we're going to do is we're actually going to use Dropbox and use that as a mechanism for getting our own images into Codea. So up until this point we've used the images that already exist in Codea, which is a great starting point, but eventually you're going to want to bring in your own images. There's several ways to do this, but what I'm going to teach you is how to use Dropbox, because if you set up a Dropbox account and then you're working in a group with 2 or 3 people programming the same app, you can all log into the same Dropbox account, put your images in once, and then you can all share them and you'll all have access to them. So to start with, I'm just going to bring up the Dropbox app and going to sign in. Once again, you will need to create your own Dropbox account and sign in with your own credentials. Okay, once you sign into a brand new Dropbox account, you'll notice that File is selected at the bottom left, and you'll notice that I actually have no files at all because it's a brand new Dropbox account. So we're just going to leave it there for now, and we're going to go back to Codea. And you'll notice in Codea at the top right hand corner there's the little symbol for settings. And if you select that, one of the things that you can do at the top is change between having a light and a dark background when you're coding. You'll notice that I've always selected the dark one because I'm just used to that. The font size, you can increase the font size, which is helpful. And there is a connection to Dropbox. So what we're going to do is we're going to link Codea to that Dropbox account that I just showed you. So if you select link, it will bring it up and it'll say, do you actually want to connect? And it will show you your Dropbox account that you had just logged into on the iPad. So I'm going to say allow, and it's now selected, and you can now use your Dropbox account. So I'm just going to go right back to the Dropbox account because there has been a change to it. So you'll notice that there is now a directory called apps, and under that is a directory called Codea. So if you allow third-party apps to access your Dropbox account, it'll create a folder called apps, and then that particular application, it will create a folder in. So just so that you're aware of it, best advice is not to touch anything in this folder and just leave it alone. Let Codea manage this application for you. So if you go back to Codea now and you press on the top left and select Assets, you'll notice that under our second one there is Dropbox, and you can actually look at your Dropbox account. Now, once again, it's showing you the Codea folder under Apps, and we currently have nothing in there. So we're going to go to the web and we're just going to get an image. So I'm just going to bring up Safari, and all I did was in Google I searched for settings icon, and you'll see there's all kinds of them, and the first link is this findicons.com, and it has a whole bunch of icons for us. So we're just going to look at that, and we're just going to pick an icon. I like to use PNGs. They seem to work best, especially on iOS devices. So I'm just going to select one of the icons, and you'll notice it gives us a whole bunch of options. So I'm just going to select the download PNG one, and there is our little settings icon. To get that into our application, we're going to take it and copy it. You will notice that the name on the tab says 128 by 128 pixels. So that is the dimensions of this. So I'm just going to select and hold and go copy. I'm going to go back to Codea. And we're going to just sync the Dropbox account for the first time. Once again, at the moment there is nothing. You notice you can add from your photos, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the add from pasteboard because I just copied it into the pasteboard. And you will notice this little screen pops up. So the first thing you're going to do is just give it a name, and this will be the name that you will be using to refer to this file in Codea. Okay, so I'm just going to call it settings icon. The next thing on the bottom, you will notice that it says 64 by 64. But if you remember, the image said it was 128. That's because on the right-hand side, there's this little toggle switch that says Retina. And you'll notice when you switch it back and forth, it changes the size. And if you're quick at math, you will notice it's having the size exactly. So you need to remember that there are old iPads with displays that are 1024 by 768, and there are new displays, the Retina displays, that are twice that dimension, 2048 by whatever 768 times 2 is. So what Codea is doing is it's going to give you the option. It can say, I will take this image and the original size, I'm going to make that the Retina version, and therefore the non-Retina version will need to be half that big. So for what we're programming on Codea, the normal screen size is considered 1024 by 768. And if you happen to be using a Retina iPad, it will then give you the image that is twice that size. So the best suggestion for coding and best practices is always to let it have the size so that on a Retina display icon or a Retina display iPad, you don't have images that are fuzzy. So we're just going to say use, and you will notice it put in our image, it used our name, setting icon, and it gave us the size, which is 64 by 64. So I'm just going to go back to my Dropbox account. I just flip back and forth so that I could sync it. So I'm just going to show you what is happening. So it's saving that now up to my Dropbox account. So if I go back to my Dropbox and we select Codea, there is now two images. Settings icon .png, that is the 64 by 64 version, and then the setting icon at 2x, and that's the original one that we actually picked, so it's twice as big. So this is how you make sure that your images are crisp and clean for both the original and the Retina display iPads. So just to prove that this actually does work, we're just going to back out of here and we're going to go to our lesson 4B. You remember in lesson 4B, just going to duplicate that. That was, just going to cancel this for a second. I have to remember, yes, this is lesson 7. 4B was when we used the helper class to help us make images show up on the screen, and since we just put images, we're going to use that over again. So this is no longer 4B, this is now 7, and this program will display an image saved in Dropbox. And we're going to have just one image, and we're going to call it settings icon. Notice I'm using nice camel case for my variable name, no spaces in the name. So just going to delete the other one here. So once again, we're going to go and get our image, but this time we're going to go to our Dropbox account and we're going to select our setting icon. So there it is. You'll notice it just puts the prefix of Dropbox in front of it. So we're going to change this image here. And we're just going to put it right in the exact middle of the screen this time, because we're only going to have one. And under touch events, it's not a beetle anymore. Just copy that. And then our draw, hopefully remember, you have to make sure you draw it, and we don't need the other one either. Okay, so hopefully this is a nice simple program. I have a one local variable that is called settings icon. Just going to comment out this sprite because we're not using that. We're just using it to get the name. We're taking the object and we're creating a sprite object from the helper class. And we're grabbing the image this time from our Dropbox account. We're going to take our icon and check for touching events. Oh, actually we don't need touching events because we only have a single icon, or a single image, sorry. So I'm just going to prove that it actually shows up and that we're going to draw it. So we click run, and there is our icon. And since it's an image, yes, you can move it around. You might want it to be a button. Buttons work exactly the same. You can save them in your Dropbox account and they will work with exactly with the helper class. No change is needed. So that is how you would link a Dropbox account to Codea for getting images. Once again, a reminder that it will save 2 copies of each one if you have the Retina button turned on. And if it's turned on, that will mean that whatever size your image is, when it shows up in your programming, it'll be half that size. So you just got to be aware of that. And also another caution, just be very careful. Do not start fiddling around with this in Dropbox and taking things out, because Codea is trying to manage that. And if you're actually coding in groups, a reminder to, before you start coding something, go over to the tab, go to Assets, go to Dropbox, and just select Sync